Welcome to the Bhuti Academy. My name is Abhishek Lasso, and our today's chapter is going to be combustion and fuel. Now, to begin with combustion and fuel, let's try and understand these two terms, that is combustion and fuel. So, let's understand what does combustion mean. So, when we speak about combustion, the first thing that comes to our mind is something is catching fire or something is getting heated up. So, the term combustion means that when a substance uh, in the present catches fire in the presence of oxygen, give out heat, is known as combustion. This process is known as combustion. Now, further, what is fuel? So any substance, okay, now we said we know what is combustion. So now any substance that undergoes combustion is known as a fuel. Okay, so combustion is the process by which a substance catches fire in the presence of oxygen to give out heat, and fuel is the substance that undergoes combustion. So now let's begin with the chapter. So we use different kinds of fuel for various purposes at home, in industry, and for running automobiles. So now when we speak about our homes, we use wood to burn fire, we use paper, we use coal, we use charcoal. Then even we use kerosene, petrol. For running vehicles, we use diesels, petrol. These are all our fuels. Can you name a few fuels used in your home? Name a few fuels used in trade and industry. What fuels are used for running automobiles? Your list will contain fuels like cow dung, wood, coal, charcoal, petrol, diesel, and compressed natural gas, that is CNG. You are familiar with burning of candle. What is the difference between burning of a candle and a burning of a fuel like coal? Maybe you were able to guess right. Candle burns with a flame, whereas coal does not burn with a flame. So now what they are saying is that when you take a candle and you lit it up, you see a flame in that candle. A kind of structure that you see over there. Okay, so say this is your candle. On top, you see this flame kind of structure. So this is your flame. So a candle burns with a flame. Whereas if you have a piece of coal, you'll never see any flame coming out of it. You see no flame coming out of it. You just feel the heat around it, and you can see some part of the coal glowing into red. So similarly, you will find many other materials burning without a flame. So let us study the chemical process of burning and the types of flame produced during this process. Now, what is combustion? So to recall the activity of burning magnesium ribbon performed in class 7, we learned that magnesium burns to form magnesium oxide and produces heat and light. So in class 7, we had an experiment in which we took a strip or a ribbon of magnesium metal. Okay, that when you burned in the presence of oxygen, it gave out heat as well as it gave out light. So we can perform a similar activity with a piece of charcoal. Hold the piece with a pair of tongs and bring it near the flame of a candle or a Bunsen burner. What do you observe? We find that the charcoal burns in air. We know that coal too burns in air, producing carbon dioxide, heat and light. So now, A chemical process, so here a chemical process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is called as combustion. So it is a chemical process in which the substance reacts with oxygen to give off heat is known as combustion. Now the substance that undergoes this combustion is said to be a combustible, or it is also known as a fuel. Now fuels may be solid, liquid or gas. Sometimes light is also given off during combustion, either as a flame or a glow. So now when we spoke about coal being burned, in that case we saw that glow. We were not getting the flame, but when we refer to a candle, we say that there is a flame. In the reactions mentioned above, magnesium and charcoal are combustible substances. So now there's an activity here. Say collect some materials. Collect some materials like straw, matchsticks, kerosene oil, paper, iron nails, stone pieces, glass, etc. Under the supervision of your teacher, try to burn each of these materials one by one. If combustion takes place, mark the material combustible, otherwise mark it as non-combustible. So now, first one we have wood. So wood is definitely combustible because it will burn to give out heat in the presence of oxygen. Paper is also combustible. Paper will rather give out a flame to us. Then we have iron nails. Iron nails are non-combustible. They won't catch any fire as such. Kerosene oil is definitely combustible. Stone of peace is again non-combustible. Straw will catch fire, so it is combustible. Charcoal we already know is combustible. Matchsticks are also combustible, and so are glass beads. Now, can you name some more substances which are combustible? You can add those to table 6.1. Let us investigate conditions under which a combustion takes place. Now, here what they have done is, so in this experiment, what is done is that, so they have taken here 3 candles. Okay. There are 3 candles and there are 3 different situations happening here. So now, in these 3 candles, what they have differed is, in the first one, this there is a opening at the bottom. So there is supply of air happening there, or oxygen. In this case, this base is shut down and supply of oxygen occurs only from the top. So there is only supply of oxygen from the top. Now moving here, in this case what they have done, they have shut the base as well as the top part. So there is no supply. Okay, so now let's see what they observe. So see here, in this case they have left some opening from underneath as well as from the top. Here they have closed the underneath part and only the top part is open. Whereas over here in the C part, they have both shut the top and the bottom. So now in this what they found was the candle burns freely in case 1. So in case 1 what we saw was the top was open and the as well as the base there was some opening. So the candle burns freely in case A when air can enter the chimney from below. Now in case B when air does not enter the chimney from below, the flame flickers and produces smoke. So here what happened was, when the supply of air was stopped from the base, the flame that was there, it started flickering, it started moving a lot. Okay, it started reducing its intensity and there was smoke that was given out. And in case C, the flame finally goes off because the air is not available. Now what does this tell us? This tells us there is need of oxygen or air for the flame to keep burning. So in the sun, heat and light are produced by nuclear reactions. You learn about this process in higher classes. So now you might have heard that when the clothes of a person catch fire, the person is covered with a blanket to extinguish fire. Can you guess now? Now, based on the previous activity, let's try to answer this. Okay. So what happened there was when the supply of oxygen was cut, the flame went off. So similar thing happens when somebody catches fire. So the first thing that they do is they wrap around a blanket to that person. So what does that is that it will cut the supply of oxygen. Okay, and in that case the fire might go off. That is the reason when any person catches fire, the first thing is done is that they cover the person with a blanket, that is to cut the supply of oxygen. Now, does a matchstick burn by itself? How does it burn? Now, does a matchstick burn by itself? No, we have to light it. We have to apply some friction or give it some kind of force to burn. You must have had an experience of burning a piece of paper. Does it burn when a burning matchstick is brought near it? Yes. So can you burn a piece of wood by bringing a lighted matchstick near it? Piece of wood might not burn, but a piece of paper definitely burns. So why do we have to use paper or kerosene oil to start a fire in wood or coal? So now when we are burning papers, papers easily catch fire. But when we try to burn something like wood or coal, in that case what we usually do is we either put in some paper bits over there and light those first, so that then the wood catches fire from those paper bits that are present, or we add some kerosene oil to it so it catches fire fast. So now, have you heard of forest fires? Do these experiences tell you that different substances catch fire at different temperatures? So now when we said about paper, paper caught fire very easily. So that means its temperature is much lower as compared to wood. Wood wouldn't catch fire so quickly as that of paper. So the lowest temperature at which a substance catches fire is called its ignition temperature. So ignition temperature is that temperature. It is the lowest temperature at which any substance can catch fire. So now when we compare paper and wood, we could say that paper has a much lower temperature. So therefore it catches fire easily. So its ignition temperature is very low. About wood, wood has a higher ignition temperature. That's why it takes time for wood to catch fire. Now, can you tell now why a matchstick does not catch fire on its own at room temperature? So now matchsticks also need some rising temperature. So when we try to rub it against the part of the matchbox, there is some kind of friction and there's some kind of temperature rise that occurs. That is when only the matchstick catches fire. Okay, so moving ahead. Now, we find that a combustible substance cannot catch fire or burn as long as its temperature is lower than its ignition temperature. Have you ever seen cooking oil catching fire when a frying pan is kept on for a long on a burning stove? Kerosene, oil and wood do not catch fire on their own at room temperature. But if kerosene oil is heated a little, it will catch fire. That is, its ignition temperature is higher than the room temperature. That's why after heating kerosene oil and so does wood catch fire, because its ignition temperature is higher than room temperature. But if wood is heated a little, it will still not catch fire. Does it mean the ignition temperature of kerosene oil is lower than that of wood? So now, if you they are comparing kerosene oil and wood. So kerosene oil, if you heat it a little, that will be slightly above the room temperature. It will catch fire. But wood, it will take even a longer time than kerosene oil. So in that case, it tells us that the ignition temperature of kerosene oil is much lower than that of wood. Does it mean that we need to take special care in storing kerosene oil? The following activity shows that it is essential for a substance to reach the ignition temperature to burn. So now that is why we be very careful with kerosene and fire, because if it gets heated even a little bit higher than the room temperature, then kerosene oil will catch fire. So now here there is an activity. So what they have done is they have taken two papers and made a paper cup kind of thing or a cone, and in one they have poured some water, and in the other one they have just kept it empty. It's just plain paper. So now they have taken two candles, and say we have a paper cup A which has the water and paper cup B which does not have the water. So the one with the water, when it was got close to the flame, we saw that it didn't catch fire. But the paper cup B, the plain one, okay, which had nothing apart from just the paper rolled, that immediately caught fire. So now why does this happen? What happens to the empty cup, empty paper cup? So it catches fire. What happens to the paper cup with water? So the paper cup with the water was not catching fire. So thus water in this cup become hot. So they are saying if we continue to heat that cup more, that water will eventually start boiling up. So now can you think of this explanation for this phenomena? So the heat supplied to the paper cup is transferred to water by conduction. So now what is happening here is whatever heat is being supplied to the paper cup, it is going somewhere else. It is going to the water through conduction. Whereas in the plain paper cup which was there, which was empty, in that case what was happening, there was no other substance present over there. So the heat was directly going to the paper and the paper caught fire. Here there is some transfer of heat happening to the water. So in the presence of water, the ignition temperature of paper is not reached. So because the heat is further moving to the water, the ignition temperature of the water was not being reached. Hence, it was not burning. The substance which have very low ignition temperature and can easily catch fire with a flame are called inflammable substances. So, substances whose ignition temperature is very low and which can easily catch fire, they are known as inflammable substances. Now, some examples of this would be petrol, alcohol, liquefied petroleum gas, and more other. Even kerosene oil could be one such example. Now, say there is a fire somewhere. So now what do we do in such cases, or how do we control such fires? So you must have seen or heard of fire breaking out in homes, shops and factories. So this is a natural phenomena. Many times we have heard fire breaking out in different regions, like we can hear then the shops and all burned down, people were having losses because of such huge fires. If you have seen such an incident, write a description in your notebook. Also share the experience with your classmate. So does your city town have a fire brigade station? So when a fire brigade arrives, what does it do? So it pours water on the fire. Water cools the combustible material so that its temperature is brought below its ignition temperature. So now whenever there is a fire, the first thing we do is we call a fire brigade. And when the fire brigade arrives over there, the first thing it does is it pours water on the combustible substances, the substances which are currently burning or which have caught the fire. So what happens when you spray this water on them? Their ignition temperature which is there, it calms down, it cools down. So therefore the fire goes off. This prevents the fire from spreading. So if the ignition temperature of one substance is got down, it will eventually reduce its fire or flame and it will stop it from spreading to the rest of the part. Now, water vapors also surround the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air. So now when you spray the water over there, it is sprayed at a very high pressure. So the tiny water vapors which are there, they also take over the combustible material that is there. In that case, what happens is the supply of oxygen also gets cut. So the fire gets extinguished. So you have learned that there are three essential requirements for producing fire. So what are these three requirements? First is a fuel, second is air, and third is heat. So these are fuel, air to supply oxygen, and heat to raise the temperature of the fuel beyond the ignition temperature. Now the fire can be controlled by removing one or more of its requirements. The job of a fire extinguisher is to cut down the supply of air or to bring down the temperature of fuel or both. Okay, so now we know what are the main three requirements for producing fire. So the main purpose of the fire extinguishers or the people who blow off this fire is to cut down the supply of either one of them. Either you cut down the supply of fuel, air or heat, or you can even do more than one of them. So notice that a fuel in most cases cannot be eliminated. If for instance a whole building catches fire, the whole building is the fuel. So fuel, when we spoke about fuel in the beginning, we said that any substance that is combustible is known as the fuel. Now if the whole room is burning, which means the whole room is the fuel. So in that case, fuel is a larger quantity or larger aspect to look at. So we have to focus on something which is smaller, like cutting down the supply of air, or say reducing the heat or the ignition temperature. Now there are also three types of or various types of combustion. So burning a match, bring a burning matchstick or a gas lighter near a gas stove in the kitchen. Turn on the knob of the gas stove. What do you observe? So when you turn on the gas stove and you bring a lighting matchstick, okay, immediately the gas stove will catch fire. So why does this happen? We find that the gas burns rapidly and produces heat and light. So such combustions are known as rapid combustion. So wherein there is immediate produce of heat and light is known as rapid combustion. So in such cases, it takes place very rapidly. The minute you bring the matchstick to close to the gas stove, it will produce heat and some light. Now there are also substances like phosphorus which burn in air at room temperature. So phosphorus is one such substance that if you randomly bring it in open, and the moment it comes in contact with air, it will catch fire. It will start burning. Now, the type of combustion in which a material suddenly bursts into flames without the application of any apparent cause is called spontaneous combustion. So now phosphorus burning is an example of spontaneous combustion. So now when phosphorus was brought out, there was no matchstick or there was no source of flame or heat that was given to it. Okay, it randomly starts burning by itself. That is just by coming in contact with air. Now such combustions are called as spontaneous combustions. We generally have fireworks on festival days. When a cracker is ignited, a sudden reaction takes place with the evolution of heat, light and sound. So when crackers are burned, three things we see. One is there's a lot of heat, there's a lot of light being produced, and a very high amount of sound is being produced. So a large amount of gas formed in the reaction is liberated. Such a reaction is called an explosion. So another thing that happens during explosion is a high level of gas. We see a lot of smoke that is produced during such kind of explosions. So explosions can also take place if pressure is applied on the cracker. Okay, so these were the three kinds of combustions. So to summarize with, we understood what is combustion and flame. So combustion is a process in which the substance reacts with oxygen to produce heat, that is combustion. And the substance that undergoes combustion is known as the fuel or the combustible. Then further, we saw how air plays a major role in the flame of a substance or of a combustible. So when there is supply of air, the flame continues to blow or when there is a cut of supply of oxygen or air, the flame goes off. So then ahead we saw what is ignition temperature. So ignition temperature is the lowest temperature at which a substance can catch fire. So that is the ignition temperature. So then later we also saw what are inflammable substances. So substances whose ignition temperature is very low and they can catch fire very immediately are known as inflammable substances. Example were petroleum, then LPG and maybe alcohol. Then we saw how we can control fire. That is, we know that there are three main requirements for a fire. First is the fuel, air and heat. So we can cut down fire by cutting any one or two of these supplies. And lastly, we saw the types of combustion. That is, first is rapid combustion, in which there is a rapid production of heat and light. Then we saw spontaneous combustion, in which there is without any external source of heat or flame, or say that without any external source, the substance can catch fire. One example was phosphorus. And lastly, we saw explosions, in which there is heat, light, sound and high amount of gas that is liberated during any explosion. Okay, so thank you for watching today's video. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the Bodhi Academy. Thank you so much.